When everybody's breaking out their parkas and getting their ice scrapers out, busting out those, the fragrance lover is taking those winter fragrances, dusting them off, and adding them back to the rotation, because we look forward, all of us, one and all, to getting out those winter weather fragrances so that we can wear them in cool weather. So it's really nice to get those fragrances that we've worn in the past, but it's also great to find something new. And today we're going to be talking about a winter fragrance called Black Soul Imperial by Ted Lapidus. So when we return, we'll go over this fragrance, see if it might just be the winter king that I think it is, that I suspect it is, that and more, so stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. Now today's video is a viewer requested video, so thank you for whomever it was that recommended getting Black Soul Imperial by Ted Lapidus. Now, this is one that was actually on my radar. I believe I had it on my master list. Yes, I have a master list of fragrances to pick up that I haven't picked up yet, and I picked it up at fragrancebuy.ca. So I checked it out today because I was going to include the link in the description, and they are sold out. So I thought, that's okay. I'll go to my next best discounter, and that's Fragrance X. So I checked out Fragrance X. They are sold out. So I'll go to my next best discounter. So I went to Fragrance Net, and they were sold out. So I did put a link in the description below in case you're interested too in checking out Black Soul Imperial. Now this fragrance came out in 2011 from the design house Ted Lapidus, and it's one of those that if you look the notes up of Black Soul Imperial, and if you go to parfumo.net, which has a really nice database, but oftentimes they'll have wrong information. In this case, they actually list 2009 as the year of release, which actually was the year of release of Black Soul, the original flagship fragrance. So that was wrong. They also list oud as a fragrant note in the base. Oud's not really listed anywhere else. So I don't know that there's actually oud in this. Sometimes fragrances have oud in them, but they're not a listed note because oud gives people this idea that, oh, I don't want, and people shy away from fragrances with an oud note. Often you'll have a fragrance that has an oud note in it and you won't even know it, because oud adds a nice rich darkness to a fragrance, but not always an animalic side to it. Fragrantica lists coffee and citruses in the top, spices and mint in the heart, and in the base you've got leather, amber, and woods. Now, there's another website called Base Notes that you're probably familiar with. It has a lot of good information as well, a lot of user input. Base Notes actually lists bergamot as a top note, coffees, spices, and then a mint note in the heart as well. It lists guaiac wood, cedar wood, musk, and tolu balm in the base. So we have 3 different websites, and they all say that there are different things in this fragrance. Now they do agree that there's coffee in there, they do agree that there's mint, they do agree that there's woods in here. There may be a difference in woods. One website says there's oud, so maybe there's oud in here. What we'll do is we'll give it the nose test here in a moment. But before we do, let's go ahead and check out that presentation. Now this is one of the more noticeably different presentations that I've seen in a while, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Cuba, the design house where all the fragrances are modeled after cigars. These are super ugly in my estimation. The fragrances themselves are kind of nasty. The bottles are okay once you get them out of this weird 19th century wig looking thing. Ted Lapidus Black Soul Imperial is kind of reminiscent of that, but it's a little bit snazzier looking, nicer looking. Looks like a battery cell or a fuel cell or something like that. So I'm not sure what the idea behind the presentation is. It is a nice part of a fragrance if it's a nice presentation. I do like a combination of black and gold as color combos go. This is a nice matte finish, and of course the Black Soul Imperial Ted Lapidus of Paris is all in shiny gold. Let's check out that juice. This is one of those times where I wish they would just put just the time. I don't know that it costs a ton of money to make the aperture on your atomizer a color. That must be a huge marketing inconvenience or something, because so few fragrance bottles have that feature. You know, I've got huge lights in front of me and I'm still like, where is the little, to me that, I don't know why that's a big deal. It's a pet peeve of mine, that to be like, where is it at? Where is it? It's such a little thing. It can't cost that much to make a colored aperture. So I like the atomizer though. It does have a nice measured spray. It's got a nice dispersion and a spray pattern. Some people have said that they don't pick up on the coffee note in this, and I feel like if you can't pick up that coffee note, you're probably missing other things as well, because there's definitely a distinctive coffee note in here. I do probably agree with Base Note's recommendation that it's in the heart though, instead of the top. This does have a nice citrusy, bright opening, but thankfully the opening doesn't stick around and mislead you that it's going to be a fruity, juicy fragrance. It immediately leads into that heart of coffee. So at least on a tester strip, when it starts drying down a little bit, that coffee becomes a little bit more creamy. The fragrance as a whole becomes a little bit creamier. So it takes on the vibe or the life of something, say, closer to a creamy cappuccino or latte, something like that, which I really, really like. There's nothing more comforting, more soothing, and more gentlemanly-like than having that heavier winter fragrance with a nice creamy side to it. Now this might be a combination of the cedar, the musk, and tolu balm, if in fact they're in there, or it could be oud. So there's a very, very light animalic to this at the very end. So it would have to be in the base. It comes only on the complete dry down, and that's on a tester strip. So it might be more prominent on skin. So we're gonna do a skin test real quick. So I definitely can tell in the spices there's definitely some saffron. I think that was in the flagship fragrance Black Soul. Black Soul Imperial is carrying that forward. And in the base, that oud that I thought that I was actually catching, that slight animalic, turns out to be leather. And especially mixing with the composition of oils on your skin and that warmth, it makes it much more apparent. It's like a fresh creamy latte wearing a leather jacket. This is projecting really well off my skin. So you want something that's going to be able to punch through, and then the addition of mint in the heart, but you can only catch it in nuances. It's not always there. It's just like a sparkle here and there. I really like how the leather becomes the focal point the more that this dries down. The combination of coffee and leather and perhaps some oud potential in there. We'll just say, if not oud, then a combination of the woods, like the gaiac and the cedar and the musk together, giving it that slight, just on the edge of your perception. So it's nothing that smacks you in the face. And I really like how it's handled in this fragrance. It's actually a well-crafted blend for a cheapie. And yes, this is absolutely a cheap fragrance. It's very inexpensive. For those of you interested, I do think it's important to make the distinction that this fragrance does not have a youthful vibe. And I'm not saying that in a negative connotation. A lot of fragrances will have a youthful orientation to them and a youthful energy, and that's great. I vibe with those as well. This one definitely is not one of them. Nor is it older, gentlemanly, mature, dapper, barbershop at all in any of those. So I think it finds a happy medium right down the middle. But again, if you're looking for a youthful, sweet, darker version of Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male or something like that, you're not finding that in this fragrance. This fragrance does have a little bit of sweetness in it, but when it dries down, that starts to pull way back. It's very inexpensive. It smells really good on skin. I would highly recommend checking it out. If you're into winter fragrances, if you like coffee at all, if you like leather, if you like ouds and woods, and you like a good combination of that with a sparkle of mint here and there, and a little bit of a freshet of fruits or citruses as a nice handshake, as a nice beginning introduction into those darker, richer, wintry notes, then you'll like Ted Lapidus Black Soul Imperial. Guys, thanks so much for stopping by and checking out my video first impressions of Ted Lapidus Black Soul Imperial. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.